History isn't about dates and decisions. It is about intentions, fears, dreams, divisions. Today, we are going to unfold a story where a single decision changed the course of India's freedom struggle forever. Welcome to Concept Classes, where we explore the story behind the partition of Bengal, a plan disguised as administration but rooted deeply in political calculations and imperial arrogance. Let us step back into 1903 and witness history being crafted and cracked. In the corridors of British India in 1903, a new lieutenant was chosen, Andrew Fraser. Fraser was a classic British administrator, sharp, loyal, firm believer in colonial policies. He was appointed as Lieutenant Governor of Bengal, but his task was much more delicate than ruling. Viceroy Lord Curzon had made it clear Bengal was becoming a problem, too politically aware, too united. The spirit of nationalism was breathing heavily across Calcutta's streets, through writers, thinkers, lawyers, and farmers alike. Fraser's silent mission break the spirit. He wasn't asked to build, he was asked to divide by Lord Curzon. Fraser knew he could not openly talk about political motives. He needed an excuse, and he found it in geography. Refining an older plan by William Ewart, Fraser proposed a seemingly logical step. On 28 March 1903, he recommended that three major regions, Dhaka, Chattogram and Rajshahi, together making up of 15 districts, should be merged into Assam. But why these areas? Because here lay the highest concentration of Muslim population. By cutting Bengal at these points, the British would create a Muslim majority province and weaken the Hindu-led nationalist movement brewing in Kolkata, then Calcutta. It was a surgical strike, political, communal, and strategic, disguised as simple boundary redrawing. Lord Curzon wasn't a man to waste time. By 1st June 1903, after weeks of consultation with Herbert Risley, Curzon finalized a grand plan. Now you may ask, who was Herbert Risley? He was a Secretary of State for India. Please remember that. Okay, now let us continue. Now, what was the grand plan? First, to divide Bengal. Second, justify it on administrative grounds. And third, quietly crush the rising political storm. So please remember that. Risley, a man who deeply believed in racial and caste divisions, became Curzon's perfect ally. Together, they crafted the minute on territorial redistribution in India, a masterstroke in colonial bureaucracy, as you may name it. Smooth on paper, sinister underneath. Later that year, on 6 December 1903, the plan was officially declared by Herbert Risley. The document became known as the Risley Papers, and they hold a dark place in Indian history. These papers were not just government files, they were weapons. Weapons designed to turn neighbor against neighbor, community against community. Risley, who once claimed caste is the basis of Indian society, was now adding communal division to British rule. Through his papers, Bengal wasn't just being divided geographically, it was being divided emotionally. Now the plan was out. Bengal was to be split into two. One part, Eastern Bengal and Assam, with Dhaka as its capital. The other, New Bengal province, merging with West Bengal, Bihar, Orissa and Chotanagpur, ruled from Calcutta. Now, British officials told the world, we are making administration easier. But behind closed doors, they celebrated weakening the beating heart of Indian nationalism, splitting up a province that had birthed the renaissance of modern India. This wasn't governance, it was a political surgery. Now let's look deeper at the demographics. Eastern Bengal and Assam would have 3.1 crore people, where Muslims would constitute 1.8 crore and Hindus would constitute 1.2 crore. The remaining Bengal province would have 5.4 crores, where Hindus with 4.2 crores of population and Muslims 90 lakh. On surface, it looked fair, but in truth, Hindus in Eastern Bengal would become political minorities. Bengalis in New Bengal would be minorities compared to Biharis and Oriyas. This careful population engineering showed the true British mastery, engineering division with pretending to administer. So you must remember that the Bengal partition was done on mainly two grounds, one on the basis of religion and other on the basis of language. So always remember that. Now, it was a divide and rule policy, as you know, written in ink and sealed with official stamps. And here lies the heart of this story. The British were not afraid of Bengalis because of their numbers, they were afraid because of their ideas. Calcutta had become India's intellectual lighthouse, as young nationalists were reading John Stuart Mill and Bankim Chandra together. Farmers were protesting unfair zamindari. Students were chanting Vande Mataram. In short, Bengal was waking up India. The partition was not just about territory, it was a desperate attempt to silence this awakening. Because they can still recall what happened in 1857. So they did not want that to reiterate again in the initial stage of 20th century. Now, and Risley put it into brutal words. The united Bengal is a big force. The partition will destroy this unity. He wasn't talking about governance, he was talking about breaking a movement. A movement that believed Hindus and Muslims could stand shoulder to shoulder, a movement that could have toppled the British Raj if it grew unchecked. The British knew it, and so they attacked at its roots. But breaking hearts is harder than drawing new borders. The British deliberately stoked communal feelings. They encouraged Muslim loyalty to the British Raj, promised better jobs, land opportunities. At the same time, they isolated Hindu intellectuals and activists. They turned neighbors into strangers. Through this division, they hoped to create permanent cracks in Indian society. Cracks that tragically would explode in 1947 during the partition of India. It all started here with the administrative partition of Bengal. By the early 1905, the bureaucratic machine moved quickly. On 2nd February 1905, proposal was sent to London about the partition of Bengal. On 9th of June, Secretary John Broderick approved it without real debate in the British Parliament. On 19th July, British Indian government officially published the plan. On 1st September, public announcement was made about the date of implementation of the partition of Bengal. Now, one thing to note here is that there were two Secretary of States. Initially, there was Herbert Risley, and now we are talking about John Broderick. So, this may come as an MCQ and very important from your exam's point of view. And just like that, an ancient cultural region was sliced apart with the stroke of a British pen. Lord Curzon's final announcement detailed a clear 4-point plan. Number 1. Create Eastern Bengal and Assam, which capital would be at Dhaka. Set up separate High Court at Dhaka with Calcutta's court handling cases temporarily. Calcutta would continue as the capital of the New Bengal province, which now swallowed Bihar, Orissa and Chotanagpur. On 16th of October 1905, the day Bengal's soul would officially be torn. Each point sounded harmless. Together, they formed a political earthquake. And so came the fateful day, 16th October 1905. Bengalis woke up not just to new maps, but to a new reality. A reality where friends could be turned into rivals, where unity was replaced with suspicion. But what the British did not expect was the fierce fire that now burned in the hearts of Bengalis. The British had planned to divide and weaken. Instead, they ignited a movement. Out of the ashes of the partition rose the cries of Swadeshi. Our country, our goods, our freedom. Songs like Vande Mataram filled the air. Students left colleges. Workers boycotted British goods. Women spun khadi at home. Partition did not kill Bengal's spirit, it made it immortal. And that spirit is what we shall explore in the next session, the birth of Swadeshi movement. Thank you. Jai Hind.